"You're not getting anything, Dan. Don't look so surprised." That's what her sister said, word for word. Right as she handed a wrapped box to her third husband, a man I'd met for the first time that day, everyone laughed. Except me. I didn't even blink, just looked down at my empty hands, then back up across the table. 12 chairs, 12 gifts, personalized, wrapped with gold foil ribbon, even little tags with in-jokes written in her father's crooked handwriting. All except for the spot I'd been assigned. No tag, no box, not even a damn napkin ring. "Isn't the seating perfect?" my wife said, giggling into her wine glass. I looked around the table like I was doing inventory, and then, without missing a beat, I smiled. "Guess that means I'm not family," I said. And I stood up. A few cousins chuckled nervously. One of the kids whispered, "Why's Uncle Dan mad?" I wasn't mad. Mad was what they wanted me to be, what they expected me to be. They'd been poking at me with dull forks for years, waiting for a reaction they could use as proof that I was too sensitive, too controlling, not easygoing enough. But what I felt right then wasn't anger. It was calm, sharp, precise calm. You see, I'd been waiting for this moment, watching, taking notes, storing receipts, and not the kind that come from department stores. And they just gave me the perfect stage. Also, if you've listened this far and haven't subscribed yet, do it. It helps more than you think. And yeah, this story only gets better from here. Anyway, let's rewind the scene for a second. Just a few months back, I'd found out my wife was still using our joint credit card to pay for her sister's business expenses. The sister, with 3 failed startups and 1 luxury candle operation that, shocker, never actually sold a candle. I confronted my wife and she did that thing, the head tilt, the dismissive eye roll, the sigh that makes you feel like you're the idiot. "You're being paranoid. It's just helping family." Right, and the monthly $2,300 help was just a generous donation, I guess. So I stopped asking, started documenting, and I noticed things. The way her father always made the toast and skipped me. The way her sister always forgot my name when introducing me to her rotating lineup of Tinder husbands. The way my wife always laughed along, like being married to me was a running joke, only she was smart enough to understand. It never escalated. That's how they operate. Always just enough to be deniable, just subtle enough to make you feel petty for pointing it out. But this time, this dinner, they finally pushed it past subtle, made it public. On purpose. 12 boxes, 12 cheers. And me? Not even a cookie. I watched her dad hand a $50 Amazon card to the neighbor's son, some awkward 19-year-old who'd come along because his parents were out of town. "Just our way of saying thanks for helping shovel the driveway last week," he said. I was there too, with my snowblower. "But sure, give the kid a card." "You okay, honey?" my wife whispered when I didn't sit back down. I looked at her, really looked. She wasn't concerned. She was smirking, waiting to see if I'd make a scene, give them their story, their "Dan lost it at dinner" moment. Instead, I leaned down, kissed the top of her head, and said, "Keep smiling. You'll need the practice." Then I turned, walked into the front hallway, and opened the coat closet. Inside my jacket pocket was a small black pouch, felt, clean, no ribbon. I walked back in, silent. Every chair turned slightly toward me, half interested, like they didn't know whether to pretend I didn't exist or brace for a show. I set the pouch on the center of the table. "What's that?" her sister asked. "My turn," I said. Then I unzipped it and pulled out a single key, not just any key, a key with a bright red tag that said Chesapeake. Her father's eyes twitched. The vacation house. The one he'd claimed was his. The one they all used for free, summers and holidays. The one he'd inherited from his brother, but somehow never bothered to record the transfer. The house was still in my name. He never paid the property taxes. I did. For 4 years. And last week I filed the final paperwork. They didn't know that yet. But they would. I set the key down like it was a chess piece. And then I sat, back in my empty seat. Suddenly, no one was laughing. They tried to move on like nothing had happened. Forks scraped plates, glasses clinked, someone made a bad joke about cranberry sauce looking like roadkill, and the table erupted in laughter like it was the height of Thanksgiving comedy. Her cousin, Jeremy, the smug one who wore a watch too expensive for someone 2 promotions too junior, nudged me with his elbow. "You good, Dan? You looked like you were about to cry for a second." I gave him a tight smile. You'll see tears soon enough, Jer. Just not from me. He blinked. Didn't get it. Went back to bragging about some regional management role he just landed. Funny thing, I'd rewritten his resume, prepped him for that interview, even rehearsed his answers when he panicked 2 nights before. He never said thank you. He never even acknowledged I'd done it, just posted a LinkedIn update titled "Hard Work Pays Off." Sure, that's what did it. My father-in-law launched into another one of his politically charged monologues, this time about moochers draining the system. Said it with his mouth full of turkey that I'd bought in a house I helped renovate next to a fireplace I personally re-stoned last winter. My wife leaned toward me and hissed, "Can you please lighten up? You're being cold." I turned to her, smiled. "No worries? Just thinking." "About what?" "Debt," I said. "How it tends to collect interest." She blinked. "What's that supposed to mean?" I didn't answer. Just took another sip of my wine and watched her family laugh at a story about someone backing into her aunt's Lexus in the church parking lot. You'd think it was stand-up night at the comedy club. Her sister snorted hard enough to spill wine on her blouse. I reached into my coat and touched the prepaid envelope. Still there. Next to it, the tiny black USB drive with a silver ring on top. Small, cheap, but packed. Packed with 10 months of audio. Every whisper, every insult, "He won't do anything, he's too passive." They said that a lot. He's too passive. My wife once said it on speakerphone while I was upstairs fixing a leak in the attic. I heard the whole conversation between her and her sister. Something about how men like me are comfortable but forgettable. Her sister suggested she start seeing someone with a little edge, like that guy from her gym who bench pressed her in a TikTok video. I didn't storm down the stairs, didn't confront her. I just opened the voice memos app and pressed record. Over time, I got smarter about it. The nanny cam we used for our dog when we first moved in, still plugged in behind the living room speaker. They'd forgotten all about it. I didn't. It synced to my phone, uploaded directly to a cloud folder she didn't know existed. Footage, audio, screenshots of bank transfers, Venmo receipts where she'd send her sister money from our joint account and label them things like for gas, baby stuff, therapy, all while insisting we were trying to cut back to save for a trip. Every lie they told, every jab they made, I logged it. My lawyer, his name's Brett, clean-shaven, no-nonsense, loves precision, already has everything. Got the full file 2 weeks ago, along with the final wire from the checking account she thinks I use for groceries and bills. I'd been routing my consulting fees to a separate LLC for months now. Quietly. Legally. They think I'm sitting there absorbing their laughter, letting it bounce off me like shame should. But the truth is, shame stopped working on me about 6 months ago. The day I watched my wife close the bedroom door behind her to take a long bath, and then heard her whispering in the hallway on her phone. Not just whispering, purring, telling someone she'd never felt seen before. I walked outside, pulled weeds for 30 minutes, then came back in with dinner and asked her if she wanted to watch a movie. She said no, she was tired. Of course she was. From that night forward, I started playing a role. The quiet husband, the pushover, the man they didn't have to worry about. They built an entire family dynamic around dismissing me. And I let them. Because sometimes, the best way to be underestimated is to stop correcting people when they assume you're nothing. Her father made another toast, this time about sticking together through thick and thin. My wine glass stayed full. Her sister threw me a look. "Still brooding, Dan?" I smiled. "Just enjoying the show. Because tonight wasn't a dinner, it was a stage. And they were handing me the spotlight with both hands. It started with a notification. One of those weird ones from the iPad we never used anymore. Buried in the kitchen junk drawer beneath expired coupons and dog nail clippers. I was cleaning out the drawer looking for a spare phone charger when the screen lit up. Amber, LOL, he's like a wallpaper husband. The preview from the iMessage thread burned into my retinas. Amber is my wife's sister, the one with the fake eyelashes and 6-digit debt to match her 6 failed business ventures. The kind of person who laughs loudest at her own jokes and makes "wine o'clock" her personality. She'd written the message in a group chat titled Family Core. I tapped it, didn't need to enter a passcode. Apparently no one had reset the iCloud settings on the old iPad. My wife's messages had been syncing to it automatically. God bless Apple and its lazy device handoffs. The chat history loaded in seconds. 3 months of scrolling, 3 months of being the punchline. They had a thread going. Every time I said something they thought was too serious, too boring, or too Dan, it got copied into the chat. Amber called me budget furniture. Her cousin made memes. Someone edited my face onto a doormat. My wife responded with 3 laughing emojis and a gif of a woman rolling her eyes. The worst part? They weren't just mocking me, they were strategizing. How to get me to co-sign a second loan for Amber's business. How to convince me to gift money for the family reunion in Arizona and make it look like it came from my wife. How to butter Dan up before her dad asked me to help with his taxes again. None of it was hypothetical. All of it happened. I closed the iPad, didn't throw it, didn't scream. I just opened my laptop, created a folder, named it Theater, subfolders, messages, audio, financials, legal. That same night, I reactivated the old nanny cam, the one we bought when we got our dog 3 years ago. We stopped using it after he stopped peeing indoors, but I never unplugged it. It was discreet, shaped like a digital clock, and plugged into the socket behind the living room bookshelf. I reconnected it, set the motion alerts to silent, and routed everything to a private cloud. It became a front row seat to the circus. They didn't hold back when I wasn't in the room. Conversations between my wife and Amber, snide comments during game night when I went to refill drinks, jokes about my salary, which quietly paid for the mortgage, the utilities, her car, and her student loans. One night, I caught Amber on camera opening our liquor cabinet and pocketing a bottle of bourbon I'd been saving for years. She whispered, "He probably won't even notice." My wife laughed from the couch. "He never does." Except now I did. I recorded the clip, added it to Theater, then there were the emails. Not between them, between her and someone else. A name I didn't recognize at first, Chris M. Not a girlfriend name, not an obvious threat. Until I saw the messages, flirty, strange, oblique. She called him her safe place, said she loved how he doesn't question every move I make. And once, just once, she wrote, "If Dan ever found out, I think he'd fold." That was cute. She thought I'd fold. I printed that one, just for the file. Brett, my lawyer, said it was useful, not damning on its own, but when combined with the rest. "Oh yeah," he said, "this paints a picture." By the time Thanksgiving rolled around, that picture was a full-blown oil painting. I had a signed affidavit from the notary who watched Amber forge a second signature on a loan form she swore I approved verbally. I had 3 emails showing her father claiming me as a business partner on a tax deduction I'd never signed off on. And I had audio clear as a bell of my wife admitting to her cousin that she only stayed married because breaking up now would be financially dumb. She said it like she was talking about canceling Netflix. That clip, that one got backed up to 3 separate drives. People think betrayal is one big act, a discovery, a scream, a confrontation. They're wrong. Betrayal is slow, drip by drip, and when it hits the cup's brim, when the liquid finally spills, it doesn't erupt. It leaks, quiet, cold, purposeful. I wasn't collecting these things for revenge. That would have been easy. I was collecting them for leverage. So when they inevitably came back to me, tail between their legs, with apologies and half-lies and teary "we didn't mean it" speeches, I could hold up the entire archive and say, "I know," and still walk away, not to punish them, but to protect myself from ever believing I was the joke again. They love to act like I'm the tag-along, the accessory, the man who got lucky marrying into their family. But here's the thing most of them never figured out. I'm not a tag-along. I'm a ledger. A walking, breathing, silently calculating balance sheet. Every fork they lift, every glass they refill, every vacation memory framed on the mantle, chances are I had a hand in funding it. And yet somehow, in their version of reality, I'm the one riding their coattails. Their inside jokes say it all. Dan's probably budgeting our cranberry sauce. Better not let Dan see the heating bill. He'll faint. Dan's allergic to fun. Sure. Let me tell you what Dan's actually allergic to. Being used. The SUV in the driveway, the one my wife parades around like she earned it, she tells her friends it was her promotion gift to herself. In reality, she still works part-time at the gallery. Cute job, 0 commission, but it looks good on Instagram. The lease is in my name. I make the payments. Insurance too, full coverage. She thinks I'm too dumb to know she let Amber use it one weekend to impress some guy who claimed he was into successful women. GPS logs say otherwise. So does the speeding ticket I intercepted in the mail 2 months ago. The small business loan I gave Amber last year? That wasn't a loan. That was a baited hook. Unsecured, yes, but documented, digitally, notarized, and now overdue. She thought the word family meant she could write it off. She was wrong. It meant I waited patiently. Now we come to the crown jewel of their entitlement, the Chesapeake vacation home. They all treat it like a family relic. Summer photos on the dock, pumpkin patch selfies in the fall. My father-in-law tells people he inherited it from his brother, which is only half true. His brother left the house to him and me. We co-owned it. And when his brother died, guess who paid the inheritance tax to keep it out of foreclosure? Not Daddy Dearest. Me. And guess who filed the quiet claim deed in only his name, knowing full well the family would never check? Also me. The house stayed in my name. They never thought to ask. They never bothered to look. Too busy posing on the porch for their annual grateful, thankful, blessed Thanksgiving photo. Blessed indeed. Because I let them be. Every time they acted like I was disposable, I reminded myself, this chair may be empty today, but my signature sits under every comfort they take for granted. Until now. Now it's time to revoke my consent. Tonight, I brought proof, receipts, contracts, a folder labeled disentanglement. Not flashy, just methodical. Each document perfectly legal, notarized, date stamped. In the middle of dinner, I glance at my coat draped behind me. The prepaid envelope peeks out like a secret. Inside it, power of attorney for selective financial decisions. Already passed to my attorney, credit card freezes, vehicle lease cancellation, cease and desist notices for any continued use of the Chesapeake property, and a formal demand letter for repayment from Amber. She'll laugh at first, until she sees that it was filed through a collection agency. A very aggressive one. I'm not ruining anyone's holiday. I'm simply adjusting the balance sheet. Because I never needed to scream or throw anything or flip the table to get my point across. That's what they expected. That's why they baited me with the empty gift. They don't know how to process silence. Silence terrifies them, because silence from a man like me means movement, behind the scenes, in the paperwork, in the digital shadows. That's where I live. And now, without ever raising my voice, I'm about to take back every inch of ground I gave them. The SUV, gone. Repossession process starts Monday. I've already reported unauthorized drivers to the leasing company. The vacation house, I submitted the sale listing last Friday. A cash buyer's already in the final stages. They'll get the email tomorrow. Amber's loan, 30-day notice starts today. She's been flagged for a credit freeze pending collections. All legal, all documented. And my wife, well, she'll feel it last, not tonight, but soon, because all those joint accounts she's been using like her personal trust fund, redirected, reclassified, rescinded. By this time next week, her card will decline at brunch. The gallery will ask why her rent transfer bounced. The world she thought was built around her comfort will feel colder, smaller, unfamiliar, and maybe then, just maybe, she'll understand what it felt like to be the man sitting at a full table with empty hands, a man who made sure every unwrapped gift came with a string. And tonight, I'm pulling every one. The first slice of pumpkin pie hadn't even touched the plate before the setup began. You could smell it, sugar, nutmeg, and smug anticipation. Her father reached for the bourbon cream and did his usual clumsy pour, sloshing more onto the tablecloth than the pie. "To family," he declared, raising his glass like a man who thought his voice had gravity. Everyone echoed the toast. Glasses clinked, smiles locked into place like a family photo where the tension is just off camera. And me? I kept my hands in my lap, calm, still, watching. Amber cut into her pie with a plastic-handled knife like it was fine china. "Hey, Dan," she chirped, "maybe next year we'll get you something real." A beat of silence, then laughter, thin and performative. My wife joined in late, like she didn't want to, but couldn't resist. She glanced at me, checking for the wince, waiting for the reaction, hoping for it. I gave them nothing. No flinch, no cracked smile, Just a slow breath and a single movement. I reached behind me and slid my coat forward over the back of the chair. From the inside pocket, I pulled out a white envelope. Plain, no logo, but thick. It made a faint, deliberate sound as it touched the table. Not loud, not dramatic, but it sliced through the chatter like a guillotine dropping. I didn't raise my voice. "To you all," I said, pushing the envelope to the center of the table. My wife chuckled, clearly assuming it was a sarcastic gesture. "What's this? A handwritten poem? An apology for ruining the mood?" "No," I said, "just a little gift, since you all enjoy giving so much." Her father, predictably, took the bait. He loved being the center of things. He tugged the envelope toward him, narrowed his eyes like he was opening a jury verdict. For a moment, the only sound was forks scraping plates. He flipped the first page. I watched his jaw clench. He didn't speak. Second page, his eyebrows pinched together. Third page, his hand started shaking. "What the hell is this?" he muttered. The rest of the table leaned in. My wife craned her neck to see. Amber licked whipped cream off her thumb, still halfway convinced this was some elaborate joke I put together to get back at them. It wasn't a joke, it was a bomb, made of contracts. First document, revocation of co-signature on the vehicle lease. Effective immediately. As of Monday, the bank would initiate repossession unless she bought it out in full. Second document, termination notice on the vacation property usage agreement I drafted for liability purposes. It had a clause 9C, that I was well within my rights to activate, sale pending, occupants to vacate within 14 days. Third document, repayment demand for Amber's loan, 30 days, with interest. Failure to comply would trigger collections. Her signature was right there. Dated, time-stamped, witnessed, and on the last page, a notarized statement from my attorney confirming that my accounts had been legally separated, financial obligations voided, and protections enacted. Every move pre-checked, airtight, irreversible. Her father sat back in his chair like he'd swallowed a tack. This is insane," he said quietly. "No," I replied. "This is accountability. Gift wrapped. Just for you." Amber's voice pitched up. "You can't just do that, Dan. That loan was between family." I looked her dead in the eye. "And family's what you all keep claiming I'm not. So which is it?" My wife opened her mouth, closed it, then opened it again. "You blindsided us. No, I warned you. Every quiet look. Every time I paid and stayed quiet. Every time I picked up the pieces while you all laughed and called me boring. You just weren't listening." Her fork slipped off her plate. My father-in-law cleared his throat, tried to recover. "Maybe we should step outside, talk this over like adults." "I've done enough quiet talking," I said. "You made your toast to family. This is mine to clarity." The envelope sat there, half spread now like a fan of legal ruin. Bourbon cream dripped onto one corner. Fitting, really. They expected me to sulk, to stew in the sting of exclusion and swallow my pride like pie. Instead, I served them documentation. Instead, I reminded them who signed their comfort into existence. No raised voice, no tantrum, just leverage, slowly weaponized. And this was just the first act. Amber's smile died first. You could actually see the moment it cracked, right when she recognized the layout of the document in her father's hand. Legal formatting, not casual, not a bluff. Her mouth twisted into that sour grimace she gets when she realizes she's not in control of the narrative. She reached across the table and yanked one of the pages toward her, scanning frantically. This is a demand letter." "Yes," I said calmly. "Signed, sealed, and certified. You've got 30 days, Amber. After that, collections." She laughed, the kind of laugh you do when you're hoping someone else will join in and pretend it's all a joke. Nobody joined her. My wife's eyes darted between the pages like she was reading a different language. "Dan, come on, this isn't funny. These aren't real." "Page 2, bottom right," I said. "Stamped and notarized last week. You were at yoga, remember? Hot power flow with Vanessa at 6:30? Her mouth hung slightly open. I turned back to her father, who was now holding the next document like it had teeth. "That's the property listing," I explained. "Vacation house is officially on the market. Repricing starts Monday. Cash buyers only. I had the carpets cleaned, by the way. Didn't want the smell of entitlement dragging the price down." He slammed the paper down. "You're selling our house?" "It's not your house," I said. "It was never yours. You never transferred the deed properly, never paid the taxes. You never even checked the title. You just Assumed. I let that word hang. Assumed. Assumed I'd keep paying. Assumed I'd stay quiet. Assumed I didn't know what power looked like when you filed it under your own name. You can't just do this, he snapped. I already did. He stood up, red-faced, fists clenched at his sides like he was trying to squeeze the authority back into his hands. You're tearing this family apart. I looked around the table. No one was speaking. Cousin Jeremy looked like he wanted to melt into his seat. One of the kids had gone pale, staring at the adults like this was some play he didn't understand. Not tearing, I said. Unraveling. And I'm not the one who sewed the lies into the seams. My wife reached for my arm. Dan, please, let's talk about this. Not here. I stepped back. No more whispers. No more closed doors. You had your laugh. Now it's my turn. Amber finally snapped. You petty little man. All this because you didn't get a gift? I turned to her. You're half right. She blinked. I leaned in just a fraction, enough for only her and my wife to hear. It wasn't the gift. It was the assumption that I wouldn't fight back. Then I straightened, glanced back at the envelope still spilling its poison across the table. There's more, I said. My wife flinched. That phrase, there's more, landed like a gunshot. Dan, she said, voice thinner now. Whatever this is, whatever point you're trying to make, we can fix it. You don't have to humiliate us. I locked eyes with her. You didn't worry about humiliating me when you sat here and watched them exclude me. You laughed. You joined in. You let them strip me down in front of a room full of people I've helped, paid for, covered for. She opened her mouth, closed it. I could see the walls going up behind her eyes, the same defensive instincts she'd always used when cornered. Play the victim, cry confusion, pretend like she didn't know. But this time there were no exits, just pages, proof. Process servers already lined up, email alerts ready to go out at midnight. Her father sat down, his face drained of its usual bluster. You want money? Is that what this is about? I actually laughed. Not money. Boundaries. Consequences. Respect. Things this family has never given and never thought they'd be asked for. He grumbled something under his breath. I ignored it. There's still dessert, though, I said, if anyone still has the appetite. Then I returned to my seat, calmly unfolded my napkin, and resumed eating like I hadn't just sent half the table into financial cardiac arrest. They wanted a Thanksgiving surprise. This was just the starter course. The room didn't recover. There's a strange silence that creeps in after dignity is stripped from a person publicly. It's not quiet like peace, it's quiet like pressure. Heavy, suffocating. Even the kids stopped fidgeting, sensing something grown up and irreversible had just happened. I let it hang for a moment. Let them stew in the confusion, the awkward glances, the quick mental math of how bad is this? And then I reached into my pocket again. Dan, my wife said quickly, almost pleading, I think you've made your point. Oh no, I said, pulling out my phone. We're not even past the appetizer yet. Amber hissed, are you serious right now? Dead, I said, though I imagine that word will feel familiar in about 60 seconds. I tapped the screen. Opened the folder titled Sunday Calls. Hit play. The sound of my wife's voice filled the room, clear, casual, and unmistakably cruel. He's too spineless to ever leave. I married a blank check with shoes. That laugh, the one I'd heard behind doors, on speakerphone, at parties when she thought I couldn't hear, ripped through the room. Real, unfiltered, nasty, not frustration, not venting, pure ridicule. The kind that eats away at a man's bones. I didn't look at her. I watched everyone else. Her father's face drained of color, then flushed crimson. Jeremy's jaw actually dropped. Her aunt muttered something and stood from the table. My wife's fingers flew toward the phone like she was trying to erase time. Too late. I locked the screen and slipped it back into my pocket. Don't bother, I said. Backed up. Stored in 3 locations. Lawyer has one. My financial advisor has another. And the third copy, let's just say it's scheduled for delivery to select inboxes if anything unfortunate happens to me. Her hand froze mid-reach like it had just touched an open flame. Amber's eyes darted around the table. You wouldn't... That's private. That's not illegal. I cut in. Recorded in my own home on a synced device, you know, the one you always complained spied on you. You should have listened to your paranoia more carefully. My wife was shaking now, that hollow kind of tremble where it's not fear of danger but fear of exposure. Her mask wasn't just slipping, It had shattered. She looked like someone who suddenly realized the house they'd built was made of glass. "This is cruel," she said, barely above a whisper. "No," I said, "this is clarity." Amber tried to inject her usual venom. "You're doing all this for revenge because we didn't get you a gift?" I turned slowly to face her, savoring it. "You think this is about a gift? You really believe this is about some box of socks or a stupid candle set?" I leaned in slightly. "I could have let that go. I've let worse go. But what I won't let go is the years of backhanded disrespect, the manipulation, the whisper campaigns, the planning." My wife covered her mouth, but I could still see her eyes. And those eyes told me everything. She didn't regret what she said. She regretted getting caught. "You knew I was unhappy," she said suddenly, desperate now. "You knew I felt stuck." I nodded, "And instead of a conversation, you made me a joke." She turned to her father for backup. He looked away. To her sister. She was too busy rereading the loan document, probably calculating how quickly her fake skincare brand would implode without my cash. And then she looked back at me, eyes wide. "I didn't think you'd ever do this," she said. That's when I smiled. "That's the last thing you'll ever underestimate." The mask was gone. The smiles were gone. The performance was over. All that was left was evidence. Time-stamped, archived, immutable. And suddenly, the man who they used to call spineless, he was the only one standing straight. I don't rush the moment. The room is frozen in that post-impact quiet, the kind that follows a car crash or a slap. Everyone's stunned, waiting for the next move, unsure if it'll be louder or quieter than the last. It's quieter. I reach into my coat one final time and retrieve a slim black folder. No labels, no flashy legal logos, just matte black with a single gold clip. I place it in front of my wife, precisely, like a final chess piece. She doesn't touch it, she just stares at it, like opening it might cause her fingers to burn. "Go on," I say. "It's what you've been working toward. A future without the furniture husband." She flinches at her own words. The recording still echoes in her skull. I can see it behind her eyes, like a tape she wants to rewind but knows she can't. The others stay seated, too afraid of what might happen if they move. Even Amber, ever mouthy, stays silent, clutching her phone in one hand and the crumpled loan demand in the other. She knows she's next, just doesn't know how deep the hole goes yet. My wife finally opens the folder. Her hands are trembling now. First page, separation agreement. Second, asset division. Third, non-contest waiver with financial stipulations tied to documented emotional mistreatment and fiduciary betrayal. Brett was meticulous. He told me during the final review, "You could walk away with 80% if this were in court. She's lucky you're just asking for 70. Her lips move silently as she reads. Then finally, "You already signed this?" "Yes," I say. "And the attorney?" "Filed. With timestamp. You'll get a copy in the mail, but I figured paper makes a louder statement tonight." She looks up at me, glassy-eyed now, desperate but still calculating. "Dan, come on, we can fix this." "No," I reply, voice calm as a closing door. "I just wanted witnesses." Her mouth opens like she's about to plead, finally, honestly, but no sound comes out. She looks around the table, searching for backup, some family anchor to tether herself to, but no one's meeting her eyes. Her father's head is down. Jeremy's still stunned from the audio. Amber's scrolling her phone, probably checking if my claim is real. It is. The power's gone out of the room. That's what happens when you realize the person you ridiculed was actually holding the foundation together the entire time. I turn to the door. No dramatics. No stomp. Just a coat over one arm. A folder left behind. And a man walking out, not because he's angry, but because he's done. I don't look back. I don't need to. That room won't forget me. They won't forget the empty chair they tried to humiliate me with. They won't forget the folder that split their family veneer down the middle. And they sure as hell won't forget that I left quietly. No curse, no threats. Just a signature. Just a reckoning. And a man finally walking away with everything they never believed he had. Control. Evidence, and his dignity fully intact. They started reaching out the next day. It began with a missed call from her father, then a voicemail. His voice cracked halfway through it, not from emotion but from unfamiliarity with being on the begging side of a conversation. He tried to sound composed, like a diplomat diffusing a minor conflict. Let's be civil about this, Dan. No need to destroy what can still be rebuilt. Rebuilt? The man thought this was a misunderstanding, like I'd mistakenly served a nuclear payload instead of a slice of justice. I didn't call back. Amber left a voice note next. Sobbing, dramatic, performative, probably practiced in the mirror. I didn't mean what I said. It was just jokes, Dan. I didn't think you'd take it all so seriously. So seriously. Like it was my sense of humor that failed, not their respect. She apologized, saying, but never for what mattered, never for the manipulation, the calculated leeching, the whispered plans to squeeze me just a little more. Just, sorry you took offense. She tried again later that night, texted 4 times in a row, then nothing. I assume someone explained to her what breach of contract means. Then came the email from my wife. Subject line, can we just talk? No greeting, no warmth, just a rambling wall of text trying to rewrite the past like it had a softer hue. She used phrases like, we were all under stress, and I didn't realize how hurt you were, and you misunderstood our humor. Not once did she say, I'm sorry for humiliating you. Not once did she say, I wish I had defended you. And yet she signed it, with love. I stared at those 2 words for a long time. Wondered what kind of love laughs while carving up your dignity in front of a table full of people. Then I archived the email, didn't reply. The next morning she showed up in person. My new office is smaller. No framed wedding photos, no clutter, just clean lines and sharp edges. Downtown, paid in full by the consulting clients they never knew existed. The ones I built while they assumed I was too simple to plan an exit. She knocked, waited. I watched her through the glass door, hair neat, makeup light, like she was trying to look remorseful, but the look in her eyes wasn't grief, it was strategy. She had a folder in her hand, probably filled with documents someone else told her to bring. I didn't open the door, didn't move, just turned back to my desk, poured myself a coffee, and continued reading. After 15 minutes, she left. No knock, no text, no tantrum. She knew, they all did. The house sale closed that week. The new owners posted a photo on Zillow, smiling on the porch with their dog. They looked like the kind of people who said thank you when someone saved them a seat. Her SUV disappeared from their driveway 2 days later. I saw Amber post a picture on Instagram with a quote about rising from the ashes. It had 3 likes. One of them was her own. Her father tried again, this time with a handwritten letter. I didn't open it, didn't need to. It's hard to respect an apology that only arrives after leverage is lost. Eventually, the messages stopped. The silence grew roots. Nobody checked in. Nobody asked how I was doing. Nobody tried to piece together the man they never bothered to know. But I did send one message, a group text, simple final. Happy holidays. I left you the pie. I imagined them reading it, confused at first, then remembering the pie. Perfectly untouched, bourbon cream, homemade crust, golden top. I'd left it in the fridge before I walked out, wrapped, labeled. The tag said, for the ones who forgot who fed them. They never replied, and I never expected them to. Because silence, that's the only honest thing they've ever given me. And this time, I welcomed it. A week passed, then silence broke, but not the kind you hear, the kind you open. The box arrived on a Tuesday morning, delivered to the same front porch where I used to shovel snow alone while they drank cider inside. She brought it in, set it on the counter, and stared at it like it might explode. No return address, no card, no instructions. Just wait. She peeled the paper slowly, probably thinking it was a mistake, a gift meant for someone else. But the wrapping paper stopped her. Same shade of gold foil, same ribbon, same curling tag style they'd used that night, right before they all received their gifts. All of them except me. This one had no name. She opened it anyway. Inside, a white box, lined with velvet, no noise in the room. Not from her, not from the others who were still too afraid to talk about that night. The lid came off, and there it was. A photo. Thanksgiving night. The group photo they made us take after dessert. All of them in frame. Amber holding her wine glass up like a trophy, her father dead center like a king, my wife on the edge, laughing at something no one remembers. And me, I was there too, standing slightly back, arms folded, not smiling, not angry, just watching. She had dismissed that expression when she first saw it, thought it was just me being stiff, uncomfortable. Camera shy, now she understood. That wasn't discomfort, that was calculation. The photo was framed in silver, high quality, not the kind you buy last minute, but the kind you pick for permanence. At the bottom, a line was etched into the metal in crisp serif font. No flourish, just precision. I was never invisible. I was just waiting for the right moment. She dropped the box. It didn't break, it lingered. Amber came over later that day, breathless. Did you get one too? She hadn't, none of them had. Just her, because this wasn't a warning, it was a memorial to what they destroyed with laughter, to the man they thought they could reduce to a punchline, to the chair they left empty and the envelope they shouldn't have opened. It didn't matter what she said to the others now, what spin she tried to put on it. That photo would outlast every apology. And every person who saw it, whether mounted on a wall or shoved in a drawer, would know she laughed at a man who never raised his voice, a man who left the table without shouting, without begging, and still managed to burn the entire foundation down with a whisper, not out of spite, but out of justice. And when the smoke cleared, all that was left was a chair, empty, by choice.